It's been nearly a month since the Liberal government introduced Bill C-36, a bill that would amend the Criminal Code and the Canadian Human Rights Act to allow the government to prosecute people for thought crimes and so-called hate speech, even though we already have a definition of hate speech with a very high threshold in the Criminal Code. Almost a month, and there has been no outrage from civil society, no outrage from the mainstream media, no outrage from the conservative opposition. It seems like the Liberals think there's going to be no pushback, and so far, they are correct. Now, it's worth noting this was introduced just before the House of Commons rose for the summer. So if there is, as everyone suspects there will be, a summer or fall election, this bill will die, but it means the Liberals are planning to run on it. They think it is going to be a popular idea for them to tell Canadians they plan to go after online hate. A briefing note that shows how the government's been discussing this internally might give us a little bit of a glimpse into how they intend to do this. Blacklock's reporter unearthed a June briefing note that was basically used to tell the government what it needed to know to sell this bill. It reads, social media platforms such as Facebook or Twitter are increasingly central to participation in democratic, cultural, and public life. However, social media platforms can also be used to threaten, intimidate, bully, and harass people, or used to promote racist, anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, misogynistic, and homophobic views that target communities, put people's safety at risk, and undermine Canada's social cohesion or democracy. No one likes hateful content. No one likes hateful rhetoric. The question is whether the government is the vehicle best suited to deal with it. But the way they lump in at the end there, two different criteria, undermining social cohesion and undermining democracy. Well, these are things that are not part of the online hate speech bill as it was initially presented by Minister Stephen Guilbeault and Justice Minister David Lametti. Undermining social cohesion, that's not the role of government to counteract, that's the role of people in society to deal with. But by saying this undermines Canadian democracy, what the government is in effect saying is that free speech undermines Canadian democracy, that social media, people being able to speak their minds, undermines Canadian democracy. And by saying this, what the Liberals are effectively telling Canadians is that the only way to protect democracy is to go after online speech. They're moving the goalposts and trying to neutralize anyone being able to claim that there is a constitutional issue at stake because they say, oh, no, the content that we're going after is undemocratic, it's anti-democratic. The only way we can safeguard democracy is by censoring the internet. This may be perhaps why Stephen Guilbeault was very transparent about Bill C-36, saying that if people thought C-10 was controversial, just wait until they got a look at C-36. But it's been disheartening that despite calls from a small number of free speech advocates, and I count myself in that category, the backlash to this has been virtually non-existent. The Liberal government thinks it is best suited to decide who can post what online. And unlike Bill C-10, where the Liberals try to have all of these different debates about who it actually affects, C-36 affects every single facet of online content. Social media, personal websites, blog posts, news websites, user comment sections, even mass emails, forwards that someone might share, private communication could be prosecuted under the return of Section 13 of the Canadian Human Rights Act. There is no respect for free speech in Bill C-36, but moreover, it hasn't even triggered a surge in people standing up for free speech in response to it. Are Canadians that resigned to accept that government is just going to go after online content? It's not something that I'm prepared to accept, and nor should you. For True North, I'm Andrew Lawton.